Today, we're diving into a fundamental tension at the heart of the startup world. It's really a clash between two completely different ways of thinking about work itself. And this conflict, well, it can define not just your career, but whether a whole company sinks or swims.
So let's just start with a really direct question for you. Think about it for a second. Is your work a job, or is it a way of life? Seriously, how you answer that question changes absolutely everything.
To really get to the bottom of this, we're going to unpack two very distinct mindsets. You can think of them as these competing cultures that are shaping how we build and innovate today.
So here it is, the core difference, laid out side by side. On one hand, you've got the classic 9-to-5 mindset, where work is basically a list of tasks you need to get done. But on the other hand, you have the founder's obsession, where work becomes this all-consuming mission. Let's start with the one we're probably all more familiar with.
First up, the 9-to-5 framework. You know this one. It's the traditional, structured way of looking at a career that most of us grew up with.
This whole framework is built on having really clear lines in the sand. Work is a job. It's governed by the clock. You show up, you focus on your specific tasks, and then, when the day is done, you clock out and your personal life takes over. The two are meant to be kept totally separate.
But here's the problem. While that structure feels safe and stable, in the crazy fast-paced world of a startup, it can actually become a ceiling. This whole task-based approach can seriously limit a company's ability to grow and innovate at lightning speed.
So, what's the alternative? Well, that brings us to the other side, what we're calling the founder's obsession. And this is a completely different ballgame. This is when building something isn't just what you do, it becomes who you are.
Now, the key word here is attitude. This isn't just about how many hours you work. It's a total shift where the goal isn't just to finish a task, but to live the mission. Work and life, they don't just coexist. They blend together into one single driving purpose.
And look, this isn't just some abstract idea. The source material is pretty clear. This obsessive, all-in drive is the engine that powers the most successful, most disruptive startups. It's where that relentless creativity and unstoppable momentum comes from.
So how does a mindset like this actually play out in a real company? Well, it completely changes the way leaders manage their teams, and you see it most clearly when it comes to setting goals.
You can see this idea perfectly in a leadership style of people like Deepinder Goyal. The whole belief is that you unlock a team's true potential not by giving them rigid targets to hit, but by building a culture based on trust and a sense of ownership.
Think about it this way. On one side, you have rigid goals, like quarterly sales numbers. These can accidentally send a message to your team that once they hit that number, they're done. It creates an artificial ceiling. But on the other side, in a culture of trust, you get rid of that ceiling. You encourage the team to ask a much bigger question. What is the absolute best we can possibly achieve?
And that is the absolute crucial point here. The second you define done with a rigid target, you risk putting a cap on your team's ambition. Yeah, they might hit the target, but who knows, they might have been capable of so much more.
Okay, so we've looked at both sides of the coin. Now it's time to bring it back to you. Which one of these mindsets is really the one that's driving you and your work?
When you boil it all down, that's what we're talking about, right? These are two fundamentally different operating systems for your professional life. And there isn't necessarily a right or wrong one, but you better believe they lead to vastly different places. And that really brings us to our final question for you to think about. In a world that is always demanding innovation, which one of these mindsets are you going to choose to build your future on?